It should be a festival that people cancel holidays for.
I think Kalaa Utsavam is an absolutely beautiful platform.
I think Kalaa Utsavam is matured now and ready to take on the next leap.
Like, for example, Swaradam, which we're presenting for Kalaa Utsavam this year. It's Indian music, but we are embracing other cultures in Singapore.
Hello and welcome to this very special panel on the biggest arts festival in Singapore, Kalaa Utsavam. I'm delighted to have a very distinguished panel of speakers to talk about what's in store for Singapore art lovers from Kalaa Utsavam 2019. How has Kalaa Utsavam supported the Singapore art scene? Where are we today and where do we go from here? So without further ado, let me introduce you to our panelists. We have Dr. Uma Rajan, a leading light of Indian art scene here in Singapore. We have Arvind Kumaraswamy, Creative Managing Director of Apsara Arts, creator of mega shows like Anjaneyam for Kalaa Utsavam, and who has very graciously allowed us to shoot this panel discussion in Apsara. So thank you and welcome, Arvind. We have CIFA's president, Vidya Nair, who's been very regular at all the shows in Singapore, and of course, Kalaa Utsavam, and Renu Suresh, a classical dancer who has been involved with Temple of Fine Arts and with other productions, and she's been very much involved with Kalaa Utsavam this year as well. So thank you and welcome all of you to this special show on Connected to India. Well, firstly, I just thought that, we are all looking forward to Kalaa Utsavam this year. It's going to be quite exciting 10 days of Indian performing arts. So can I have from each one of you something that you're really looking forward to watching in this year's edition? Would you like to go first, Dr. Rajan?
My choice would be Agam. I've seen them before. This would be the third time. And I love classical music. And the way they blend Carnatic music, North Indian music, classical music, into the Western format and present it like a pop show, I think that's a way to go to the younger generations and keep our traditions alive. In that way, I think the roots of our culture will be firmly planted. And I really think this is the way to go for the future.
Fantastic choice. What about you, Arvind?
It's quite hard to pick. I think I would put Interrupted by Aditi Mangaldas and Agam at the same level. But of course, I'm also looking forward for the local productions as well, because this arts is a festival for Singaporeans too.
Great. What about you, Vidya?
I have two favorites. I'm looking forward to Agam, but more interestingly because they are incorporating Kaushiki in the performance this year. She's a very interesting vocalist, so I'm interested to see the interaction of North Indian classical music and South Indian classical music. The other person I'm interested to see is Prasanna once again. He's back after 2 years. He was presented 2 years ago by CIFAS, and he himself has been very keen to engage with the Singapore audience, so I'm happy he's coming back this time with a more Western type of programming. He's really a very accomplished artist.
And Renu, apart from your own productions that you're involved with this year, which one is your favorite?
For this year's lineup, my favorite would be Agam, because the idea of presenting Carnatic music in a new light with Kaushiki as well, it's something quite interesting, and I look forward to that.
Excellent. So everyone is looking forward to Agam. Dr. Uma Rajan, it's the 18th year of Kalaa Utsavam. I mean, you have created so many festivals in Singapore. Do you think for a festival to run for this long, to thrive, is one of its biggest achievement?
I would think so in a way. I mean, to stretch to 3 weeks nearly. But I take you back to years ago when as you all know, 1977, that's when the Festival of Arts started in Singapore. And then 1999 when NAC was formed. And then when NAC was formed, it was Festival of Arts. But I think Professor Tomiko was chairing, suddenly he listened to some of us fighting for ethnic arts, because always the Festival of Arts focused more on Western. It used to be a bit more Western, not so much of ethnic, and everybody was clamoring for more Indian, for more Malay, more Chinese, traditional art forms. So he came up with this idea of breaking it up and taking Asian arts a step further. So he created the Festival of Asian Performing Arts, which I was very fortunate to chair, but we had 3 sessions, 93, 95, 97, and that was the time, 93, we brought in artist Panditji, L. Subramaniam, a big group, Hariharan, who was just starting his career, Bombay Jayashree starting career, Kitchen Kada, all these big groups. So Kalaa Utsavam probably fills that gap of that contemporary. I think Kalaa Utsavam is an absolutely beautiful platform for local productions to be able to. And at the same time, we get to know, hey, our groups are able to perform better or even equal to. And that's something for them. And I think Kalaa Utsavam has done that.
Just to take that point forward, Arvind, you have been part of this change that Dr. Uma is talking about. How do you see this changing landscape of performing arts in Singapore, and what has it entailed?
So I concur with what Dr. Umar said. I mean, I was part of FAPA as a very young artist, and then we have seen. So we did lose opportunities for Indian arts to be presented. So I think it was timely that Esplanade was built and Kalaa Utsavam came. It's a very timely time. And if you take the trajectory of Apsara's arts, you can see that being part of Kalaa Utsavam, whenever we get opportunities, we have been able to push the envelope and to dream higher, dream bigger, because it's not just only the festival platform, it's also what the infrastructure you can get to enjoy in using the venues that Kalaa Utsavam gets presented, and also the technical capabilities that you are able to dream high. So I think that has pushed the envelope. So I would say that the other thing that I think which I worry a lot is about the audience. So I think Kalaa Utsavam has made the audience to also taste different types of variety, quality work, both from overseas and locally. So the taste of the audience has also evolved a lot. So the expectation is very high now. So from the first year of Kalaa Utsavam that Apsara Arts produced to what we would probably did the last, we have to now cater for an audience which are more sophisticated, and they are expecting, the expectations are high. So that actually probably gives us a good challenge.
Would you agree with that, Vidya? Because, with CFAS, you're also running a festival. You're also trying to keep improving on what we are calling the quality of production. Do you think there's still a long way to go, or Kalaa Utsavam is setting a benchmark which everyone needs to kind of aspire to reach?
I think Kalaa Utsavam is important from the calendar point of view, because the audience, as Arvind says, they are used to a higher standard today, and at different times of the year our taste for things also changes. So November being the Deepavali season, it is a good time to actually enjoy something Indian, and I think this is something that is great for the Indian community, and also for others to also partake in some kind of festive activity which is Indian content. So the festival that CFAS runs is completely different. The venue is the Esplanade, but it is a classical arts festival, and it runs in March, April. So it's a completely different time of the year, and it's a classical focus. So we focus on Indian classical music and dance. So that is a different type of festival, so I wouldn't compare the two, although often we get mistaken for each other, but they're completely at different times of the year. When we go to the Esplanade to perform with lights, to perform with sound of a high quality, and to perform in a very large stage, requires a different set of skills, and that's training that we need.
Arvind, do you think the audience have evolved in terms of their choices, what they're really wanting to watch, the quality you mentioned, but in terms of the content as well?
Yeah, I think the audience over the years, I think probably to program a Kalaa Utsavam in this year or next year is a challenge, because I think there are two things. One, there's a lot of things happening in Singapore, and that's a lot of choices for audience as well. And then, of course, then how do you actually make it relevant? And we also are looking at generations now. So 18 years ago, Kalaa Utsavam, that the person was born 18 years ago is now 18 years old person who can come for the show. So what that taste of that he or she who's the new audience coming in. The question is, are we having new audiences coming in? And if not, do we need to bring them in? So these are I think, the challenges. But
would that be the biggest challenge, to get the new audience to the theatres?
I think the challenge would be what is relevant for a Singapore audience. Though Kalaa Utsavam will attract people from the region, but I think the bulk of it are Singapore-based audience. So what is it relevant to the Singapore audience? So I think that's what's important, because unlike a festival in India, the Singapore audience are spoiled for a lot of choice, because they get to see Bolshoi, they get to see Cloudgate, they get to see symphony, so they see a lot of variety, not just Indian program. They don't only go for Indian shows. So to bring them in to buy a ticket and come to Kalaa Utsavam, you need to really see what will appeal to them. and so it is something I see the audience taste has evolved, and a lot of comparisons happen. I mean, I've had audience come to me and say, oh, you know what, we saw this show by this Chinese group or by this Spanish group, and Carmen, for example, you know, it just captivated everybody, how the live music and the dance went. And would you do that for Indian dance? So, oh, okay, so now there, you know, a taste of the audience. So it is evolving at quite fast speed, I would say.
I have a thought on this. You know, having been born here, grew up, I think we've got two types of audiences. We've got the local Singapore audience, Indians, whose tastes are different. We've been exposed to Chinese, Malay, Western, so we can enjoy all the four ethnic groups, and fusion is easier to follow. But the larger audience that comes from most of these festivals are definitely the immigrant Indians. You can't run away from that because their taste fits in with that, and they have this passion for the Indian arts, and they follow that Indian arts through the media, so they come. But I'd like to share something. Like Arts Council started this program of bringing arts to the community. I'm involved in one where they fund us for about 6-7 events in a year, where we try to cover the ethnic groups, and we try to bring in, they want us to bring international or national icons. I think Arvind's group has performed. I think at one time they performed. So we try to bring it to the community free of charge and of very affordable prices, $3, $5, just to know how many will come. The marketing strategies are very, very important. I think many groups, they do not have the access to the marketing strategy.
And in the age of social media,
yes,
that
you
is
very
definitely a key
important.
to,
Ticket
reaching the new
pricing,
audience.
yeah, and ticket pricing, very important. But it doesn't mean if $3 you sell out. I know when I've done the community arts, putting the tickets at 3 and 5, tickets are at 20% till about 2 days before the show maybe. And again, they want to go social media, to go in online ticketing. The demand is now for online ticketing, even paying 50 cents per ticket for admin fees in a smaller, some of these agencies. I think they prefer that. You know, they don't mind that. So I think this marketing strategy, all this is to be tied up with the audience development, I think.
How would you tackle this, that, you know, putting the ticketing prices at low? Because that's not the idea, right? The artists need to make money. At the end of that, you know, why sell the art at a cheap price because it has a value to it?
Yeah. I would say that free programming is necessary and ticketed programs are necessary. Free programming, if you look at what's happening at the Esplanade, it is basically, they do a lot of these segmented kind of programs, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, because sometimes we have to understand that it's difficult for someone who's not exposed to, let's say, any classical art, to sit through a 2-hour or 3-hour show. It's too much. They are not familiar or not able to understand it or appreciate a dance form for that long. So if something is presented to them in a short 20 minutes and it is free, it encourages them to at least have a taste of what this is. And I find that in a venue like the Esplanade, when they do it at the concourse or they do it outdoors, you get very good response from the audience. They thoroughly enjoy it because it's 20 minutes, it's their attention span these days. 20 minutes is all people can handle nowadays. Then they want to walk out, have a meal, and then come back for the next 20 minutes an hour later. So that sort of concept is necessary.
So just to add to that, Vidya, so then you can, Renu, answer that the palette is changing of the audience, and therefore we need to innovate, you know, in terms of the content that we are producing. So as an artist, is that always something that you're keeping in mind when you're working on new productions, that innovation is definitely going to be the key to not only get the audience, but for them to enjoy what you're producing?
Innovation can be in many ways. So one way, yeah, thinking out of the box and getting ideas from, like, for example, Arvind mentioned about Carmen, you know, having the live music. Another thing is collaboration, right, between arts groups locally, and also mentorship. I think done very well by the dance section, you know, the dance sections where you bring in a well-known dancer and they mentor the local groups. So, but in music, maybe more can be done in that area, where you have mentorship and then, you know, the local groups get to experience a lot more with foreign artists and up their level in terms of exposure and also collaborative works. So that's one way I feel that we can, you know, improve the quality of what we offer and also get new ideas.
In Singapore, very often I'm invited to people's homes to listen to top artists. So that one way you're craving for music and not dance so much, but music is just satisfied because you're in a nice group and you're able to hear the best of talents. So that's one way many people fulfill their craving for any form of music or so, you see.
Arvind, you have been innovating with almost all the productions that you have done, and Anjaneyam definitely has set a bar very high. How challenging it is in the current times to go ahead and do something of that nature again, both financially as well as in terms of performance?
I think this is probably any artist's statement. Is nothing new. I think creativity has no boundaries. Where the wall comes is financial, right? And financial is not just money; it's also time. So how much time are you able to spend on a work, and that means investing on that work. And I think what's important is that it'll be good to see artists being able to grow their thoughts and their work on this. Not blips come and perform, and then after that you go into, then there's no other opportunities, and then they come back again after a couple of years, another blip, right? So that is probably what I would say the syndrome that we are facing. So in Apsarasas, yes, we get the blips to do in various color, but in the middle then we have to self-present because we can't go into oblivion, we can't go into our caves back.
Maybe here, one of the things I find, Arvind, that you do such mammoth productions, we should be able to see it again and again and again for many, many years, just like the big Western musicals have been doing. We are still going there and we are welcoming these people. And why are we not doing that for these big productions? Because to be very honest, I think compared to 30 years ago where funding was hardly heard of, you sold your tickets and you got your funds. You got it from your members' association fees, but not funds like you get now for NEC. You get all the different funding. It's just that many people don't know how to go into this or how to tap. The cost for the production of the props, that seems to be much more than for the actual performance. And I would personally like to see the money go to the artist. That's what we want to do, because all the artists whom we have seen, and we expect them to be professional. Simply this morning I asked a group, how many of your artists are professionals? 0. Maybe 1. The rest are all doing out of passion. They have not taken this as a profession. So that way we are not up to where we should be. We have the talent, we have the artists, but the confidence that I can make a living, I can support my family, that is not there. And that way I think it's a very big challenge. So I mean, while we're talking away from Kalaa Utsavam, I think, but in Kalaa Utsavam, you see these big artists, one of the questions everybody has, how much are you paid? It's the first question they do ask each other, because they want to see whether they can survive in that way. But in Singapore, we're a small island, so that the same people attend the same shows. I like Agam, I'll see Agam again and again.
I think a lot of what you are asking is related to what Dr. Uma has said, that the ability to repeat your performance is not there. There is a view that if you repeat, people will not come. But the truth is that people will come. There are sometimes in a 2-hour show that we don't see all aspects. We want to come back and watch a show again, just to see another aspect, the production aspect this time. Or you want to watch a particular dancer and watch a scene one more time. I remember in the days when the Temple of Fine Arts used to do these large productions, we used to go repeatedly just to see different sides of the Ramayana, just to go one more time, so that you can see different things. And I was a child at the time, so it means that families would go as a collective group to watch a show. So as she says, because the production cost has become larger than the performance fees, we need much more support in enabling for the production to repeat.
Word of mouth is the biggest impact. You know, you can do any amount of publicity, but word of mouth. So when the show is restaged again, the chances of people who watched and enjoyed it to go and influence others to come and watch is very high. And that's what we lose here. And how do you know that? YouTube channel. You know, you get millions of views, but the millions of views are repeat views. And people have shared the link. People have been sending to their like-minded people and saying, have you seen this video by this artist? That we lose out when we can't restage.
No theatre group does one show. They do a week, they do 10 days. That show repeats every day. Then word of mouth comes, the next group of people turn up for the show, and then they're encouraged to pick up the tickets and not miss it. So that kind of ethos is there with theatre. And that's something we should bring to music and dance.
So Arvind, as we move towards the new, both in terms of content, both in terms of experiments, audience, how important it is to hold on to the old as well?
I think for me as a Indian classical dance related work, the word contemporary is it's a different altogether. For me, contemporary means what we do today, and we are at Apsaras. We are practicing 1,000 year, 500 year, whatever you, date you want to give, old tradition. But what we are dancing today wasn't danced even 100 years ago, even 20 years ago. Even if you take our work, what Neela Mami created 30 years ago is different from what she created recently. So it's contemporary is what we are today, right? So, and that we are provoked by what's happening around us, what we get to see. We understand audience, preferences and all. So the holding on to the age old is a tradition in terms of the technique, in terms of the style of dance. But I think the themes, the narrative has to be very contemporary. If not, we will probably also lose the interest of the audience.
We started with Kalaa Utsavam, and it's only right that we end with it. I just want to know, like a line or two from each one of you, where do you think Kalaa Utsavam is today, and where do you think it should be going in the near future?
I would think that there should be a conscious effort to involve more local groups, local productions, like Vidya mentioned. Why don't we have it? Why can't Kalaa Utsavam take that role and put up Anjaneyam as one main program? In that way, it gives that platform for them. So I feel that local productions should play a bigger role in Kalaa Utsavam. Today, we are having more overseas, and put this and bigger groups, not just small concourse programs, but rather really in the theatre or in the concert hall. I feel that's where it should go.
Going forward, I think, yeah, involving local groups is good, but how do we aspire to become better is, I think, more collaborative works, more mentorship. I think that will help, so that we always have something fresh and new to offer to the audiences. I think definitely, yeah, going forward, we should have probably a higher percentage of local performances versus the foreign artists. Yeah.
I think for me it will be good. I think we have come after so many years. I think Kalaa Utsavam is matured now and to ready to take on the next leap. And the next leap for me will be to provide a platform for discourse. So instead of an artist comes from India, presents a work and then gone. And then a local production goes, plays for one night and they also gone. There is no a festival discourse. If you look at the evolved festivals like the Edinburgh Festival or even the festivals that are happening in Australia, there is an opportunity for the artists to stay around, mingle, and have a discourse with their audiences. So the artist and audience collaborating. So the next year's programming becomes a collaborative programming because you heard a discourse, you heard what the audience liked. And also, if we not only watching a great artist, for me as a local Singaporean artist, watching Bombay Jayashree performing with a beautiful ensemble is wonderful. But I would like to also spend a few more days that she's in Singapore, that we get to have the discourse with her and a workshop, and not only just a workshop, even a discourse about what she presented and how she thought through it, how did she work through it. That is important because for Apsara's arts work, we started to do this discourse on our own. So after we present in Esplanade for Kalaa Utsavam, we come to our studios and we have the discourse. And the amount of interest that the audience have come to us these sessions and the thought-provoking questions they ask, it also makes us to rethink what we have done.
Like for example, Swaradam, which we are presenting for Kalaa Utsavam this year, it's Indian music, but we are embracing other cultures in Singapore. Like we have, the Spanish element, we have the Chinese element, the Western element. And it's interesting because the artists we're working with, they're so interested in Indian music. We have a percussionist, Eugene, who is so interested in learning our talams, our ragas and everything. And that way, I think we include the locals, but different cultures in our Indian arts. So I think that's a wonderful way to, a wonderful platform to present our Indian culture.
I totally agree with what everyone has said. I'll just add something about marketing for the shows. I mean, besides reaching out word of mouth, a lot of the social media is very effective in storytelling. So in a sense, that storytelling of why the show is interesting, why someone should come to watch, so sort of encourage, inspire you to attend. So stories, the way sound bites are created, the way stories are created, and it's absorbed by different people in different ways. So some kind of effort, initiative in that needs to be developed. People are interested to know how a work is created. That's why a discourse is, how did Bombay Jayasree sing that song? Why this song? Why did she place it as a third song instead of the seventh song? And some of the technical aspects of their art, what inspires them? It should be a festival that people cancel holidays for. You know, they should postpone holidays, like no going anywhere till after November is over, you know, at least to see through the festival, and it's something that everyone participates. I should be able to go with my Chinese and my Western friends and my Malay friends to attend an Indian show and vice versa for theirs. So that sort of feeling and movement should happen.
And I think all of you here have played a very big role in making sure that the audiences have graduated to the next level. They have the palette for the finest of performances. It was a pleasure, and I hope all of us really enjoy Kalaa Utsavam 2019. And Agam, you know, it's a unanimous choice. Thank you so much. Thank you.